So you want this, that, or that, and you want it now? Get your pen and paper out, because today we're talking about easily the most important, not the sexiest, but the most important topic you're gonna see on my channel right here if you're moving to New Braunfels. This is how to win as a buyer in the New Braunfels market. So how is the real estate market in New Braunfels? Well, remember the first debate between Biden and Trump?
The radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
Yeah, it's like that in New Braunfels. It's a crazy market. If you're a seller right now in New Braunfels, think of it like you're Andy Griffin or like Happy Days. Everything is sunshine and lollipops if you're selling in New Braunfels. But if you're a buyer in New Braunfels, you're gonna need a hard hat, some Kleenex, and a checkbook. We have this many homes on the market and this many buyers right now. So instead of having 3 people interested in a house, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 people interested in that same house. What that does, it just increases the price. So something cost $235,000 in New Braunfels last year. This year it's worth $270,000 in New Braunfels. That's a $35,000 increase. So prices are not going to go down anytime soon, simply because of supply and demand. So let's talk about how to win in this market as a buyer in New Braunfels. In a couple minutes, I'm going to give you what I call the winning hand, so stick around for that. But first, hey, listen, I want to hear from you. What kind of experiences have you had in hot markets like ours? Whether you're a buyer or seller, whether you bought or sold, let me know in the comments section below. Before we jump into the top components of winning in our New Braunfels hot market, you must answer these 4 questions if you're thinking about buying in this market. Because listen, flat out folks, I'm gonna tell you, if your why is not big enough, your excuses will be, and I guarantee you'll lose in this market. So think of this as conditioning, physical, and more importantly, mental conditioning for you. Kind of like when Rocky went to Russia to fight a Drago. He had to get physically chiseled and ready, and he, more importantly, had to get mentally ready. So here are the 4 questions you must ask yourself and answer. Number 1, what is the most important thing to you about buying this home? Number 2, what will buying this home do for you and your family? Number 3, what's that going to do? Number 4, tell me more about that. So if you get through all these questions and you're answering all these questions, congratulations, you are now ready to purchase in the New Braunfels market. However, if you didn't answer all the questions, or if you even missed 1 or 2, you're not ready. You know, you're not prepared. You're underestimating the situation. Think of it as like when Apollo got in the ring with Drago. He totally underestimated his opponent and he got wiped out. The same thing will happen to you if your why is not big enough when entering this New Braunfels market. All right, now you know why you're moving to New Braunfels. Now what? Well, now we're going to talk about the 3 components of winning in this market, including the winning hand. 2 of the 3 components involve the agent who's representing you in the purchase of the home. And the first component is so critical, folks. It's communication. Your buyer's agent should reach out to the listing agent with a phone call saying, hey, listen, we just saw your house on the market. We're wondering what kind of action you're getting on it right now. You know, stuff like that. And then follow up shortly after and with a text saying that we're writing an offer right now, we're about to send it. So that's 2 touches to that listing agent before things get really crazy. And you want to establish that communication from the very beginning, so critical. The second component is what I like to do. It's the personal letter. It's writing a letter on behalf of the buyer, you, telling the seller how grateful you are that they let you see their house and why their house is such a good fit for you and your family. I can't tell you the number of times I've sat at a closing table with my buyer and the seller says, we had so many offers, but when we read your letter, ... And it's so gratifying to hear that because it worked. So the personal letter. Also in that letter, we highlight your lender, and I cannot recommend this any stronger to you. Please work with a local lender simply because they know the local market. And from experience, when I work with sellers here, when we're on the end of a multiple offer situation, let's say we have 5 offers, I'm going to strongly advocate for the local lender who has a proven track record in the area and who knows the market. So please, cannot say this any stronger, please work with a local lender. Speaking of the lending process, the pre-qualifications that maybe used to work a few years ago doesn't work anymore. I mean, this market is way different than even 2 years ago. So you have to go deeper in the mortgage process now before you start looking at homes. You have to get a pre-approval, because a pre-approval is going to be verifiable information like income, your pay stubs, your assets, your social security number. All of that stuff is going to be verified so that when it comes to look at homes, you know how much you're going to spend, how much you can afford. And when you go submit an offer, the seller knows that you're pre-approved and you do have that money. So you must go deeper in competitive markets like ours. Get your pre-approval. All right, the 3 components. Number 1, make sure the agent representing you in the purchase of your home reaches out to the listing agent at least 2 or 3 times, establishes that connection and that important communication in the very beginning before things get kind of crazy, right? Number 2, make sure the agent representing you writes a personal letter to the seller, to the listing agent, explaining how much you love the house and why it's a great fit. And number 3, the 3rd component in all of this is called the winning hand. And all of these fingers here and all these strategies apply to you. So how do you get the winning hand? Buyers think the winning hand is always about the first finger. It's about price. It's not all about price. I mean, price is important, but it's about price and terms make up the other 4 fingers. Let's go over the terms. Price is number 1. Of course, in a multiple offer situation, you're gonna offer over asking price. And when you're offering over asking price, don't end in a round number. Be a little bit different. If they're asking $350, come in at, let's say, $352. So that's number 1, price. Number 2, are you gonna waive your appraisal? Set a cap. Are you willing to put 20% down and then another $10,000 down for an appraisal guarantee? So number 2 is appraisal. Number 3, are you going to give free occupancy? So if the seller is asking for 30 days occupancy beyond the closing date, then give them 30 days free or 15 days free or 10 days free. So number 1 is price. Number 2, are you going to waive your appraisal? You're going to have some kind of appraisal guarantee. Number 3, are you going to offer some type of free occupancy? Number 4 is earnest money deposit. Now think of it, earnest money deposit as a good faith payment, like you're a serious buyer. The earnest money deposit is not a requirement in the state of Texas, but I'm going to tell you, in our competitive market, it is strongly and highly recommended. So what we recommend for our buyers is anywhere between 1% and 3% of their offer price. So if our buyer is offering $500,000, let's say, for a house, their earnest money deposit will be $5,000, and we submit that payment with the offer. Now, let's say you do a private inspection and a red flag comes up, something wrong with the foundation or maybe suspected mold in the attic. You decide to pull out of that offer, that's fine. You can do that and you get your earnest money deposit back. Let's say you're going through third-party financing, right? Most people do. And for whatever reason, the financing just falls apart toward the end. No problem, you can back out, and when you do, you get your earnest money deposit back. So the only time you lose that EMD is if you decide 2 days before closing, after you pass private inspection, after the appraisal came back good, you just decide, heck, you know what, I don't want that house. Then you lose that money. So an earnest money deposit shows you are a strong and serious buyer. So number 4 is earnest money deposit. Number 5 in the winning hand is the private inspection. And here's how I explain it to you, the buyer. I say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, they're asking $520 for the house. You're gonna pay them $530, $10,000 over asking price, and you're asking for a private inspection. What that means to the seller is during the course of the next 7 to 10 days, for whatever reason, you can cancel. During that option or private inspection period, you can cancel. You can get cold feet. It could be something coming out of the house. It could be for any reason at all, you could cancel. So the offer that doesn't have the private inspection is probably gonna win the offer, though I always advocate you get the private inspection for liability reasons. So that is the winning hand in a red hot market like ours. So you see, it's not all about price, it's about the 4 other fingers that make up that winning hand. Number one is pricing. Are you offering over asking? Number two, are you waiving your appraisal? Are you going to give some kind of appraisal guarantee? Number three, are you offering the seller some kind of free occupancy after closing? Number four is your earnest money deposit, anywhere between 1% and 3% of your offer price. And number five is your private inspection. In a multiple offer situation, the cleanest hand is probably going to win in our market. So there you go. Now you're set up for a big win as the buyer in our market. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You know the drill. Email me, call me, or shoot me a text. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.